what is a children's parliament or a neighborhood children's parliament. Can you tell us a bit more about what is that? How does it look like?
Children Parliament is a small unit of structures of children where we organize and mobilize children from each neighborhood-based communities of about 30 to 35. So there'll be some 30 to 35 children. So that children will be organized as team, and we have some swearing-in ceremony sessions among them. We have we'll be conducting some sociocratic elections, and also for those who cannot understand what sociocracy is. So sociocracy is 100% consent-based decision-making panels. So we use sociocracy in children's parliament. So we elect child ministers, for example, Minister for Education, Environment, Sustainable Agriculture, Minister for Zero Poverty, Minister for Finance, something like this. So we have the same kind of actual constituency system, and through which we empower children to like voice for their rights and for their society's rights and for their country's right. They eliminate all the social injustices, and they start voicing for their rights and the society's right. And more importantly, not only just giving voices, but they act actually. So these children will be coming together as team, and they will be continuously every week they'll be coming together, and they'll be discussing about what are all the issues to be solved on their ground on grassroots level, and they beautifully come to a conclusion as to how they can solve it.
So how did it feel for you as a child to be part of a neighborhood parliament? How does it look like from inside?
To express this thing, I just go back to my life story. Like when I was 9, I faced a lot of like struggles. Like when my mom was undergone to child marriage, and my sister, she was undergone to child marriage, and because of child marriage, like she passed away with her unborn baby while she was pregnant. And we were living in a place where we did not have any kind of fundamental facilities to live. Like we did not have transport facility, primary health center, and even a school. So that was the remote place. That's a kind of a remote place where we were living in. So that's the situation I came from, and we always wanted to change something. Like since from childhood, we had the thrive to change and thrive to make some transformations, but we did not get any opportunity related to this thing. And once we hear like children's parliament can do some social activities like this, initially we didn't think that this could do like lot many changes, but we just joined as a kind of a club or something else. But later on, we became the protagonist of the program. So here, children are the main characters, and nobody will be there to play a kind of facilitation role, but the children will actually govern their own system, and we discuss about our problem. It is in a systematic manner, and a very kind of disciplinary actions will be taken. For example, we have certain levels. We start this children's parliament from neighborhood level, and we like gradually move towards global level.
One of the challenges that I'm thinking is that precisely from what you said, that we are so used to an environment as a child and as an adult, as any person, to a setting where any young person is told what to do and where to be, and need to be quiet and not to make any noise and a mess and so on. So I imagine there must be like an induction process or a process so that children that are used to just being there, sitting quiet and waiting for someone to tell them now you can play, or now you can eat, or now you can do something, to help them regain that autonomy and that control and that decision-making power. So how do you, when you set up a new children's parliament in a new neighborhood where people have never heard about this, I'm sure there's a lot of work to do with the adults to help them understand that children do have a voice, but I'm curious as well about how you work with the children.
So it was not a kind of easy task for us to establish children's parliament in a neighborhood. Like, you know, when you call children, we just can't go there and hey, come and just let's form a children's parliament. You can't form as it is. Like, you know, there is a ground study and there's a beautiful procedures to be followed. But those are all are enjoyable. Like initially when you approach children, or when you like go through school or any organization, when you're approaching them, they'll be impressed a lot, because these children can make a lot of social transformations, and they can like eventually they unleash their capabilities and the capacities. And one very beautiful story I can say here is, Like when we started this, when started conducting this children's parliament, when we started forming this children's parliament, so we had some ground study of the place wherever we are setting up children's parliament, and we approached the respected organizations, then the local leaders of the actual place, and then we started connecting them with the children. So then we made the children understand their roles and responsibilities, and we have some 3 phases of training in this children's parliament. One is functional, the second one is life skills, and the third one is value clarification exercises. So when these children parliamentarians like undergo to all these trainings, they'll end up as a diplomats. Like those, I mean, they are just 6 to 18 years old, but they act like diplomats. But in any places, they don't lose their childhood. Like they play like the same. They like we call it as a game of governance. Like children used to pretend like their parents or the elders, right? They play a game of riding, a game of cooking, a game of climbing. Like the same, it's a game of governance with responsibility. So that's how we structure the children's parliament. And in this children's parliament, children understand the elders' mindset and the youngers' mindset, and they accept the realities, and they self-learn many things, and they self-taught many social aspects. And whenever these children come to this children's parliament, they come with a kind of general knowledge, and they continuously acquire knowledge, and they share it among their friends in this team. And not only that thing, but these children write letters to the actual prime minister of the country, and these children write letters to the actual finance minister, external affairs minister, like the actual ministers, and they've been getting replies to.
I was thinking also about the fact that in these parliaments, then all the voices are heard, and a part of the empathy and the active listening that you have to do, there is also the part of learning together, because you might think something, but then the other person thinks something completely different, or you just have a completely different perspective. So now you are exposed to all this diversity, and then you can choose what you want to think. And like I guess that, yeah, now in your point of view is going to include all the other parts that you can also consider important, and that's going to create that's the base of respect. You're going to respect everybody in that process, because you are going to listen to them, you are going to have the opportunity to empathize with them, and then think, okay, having all these cards in the table, now I want to, or I consider that this and this and this is important to me, and then you can develop your own train of thoughts, and you can start even getting to know yourself more to decide what you want to think and how do you want to act. And that is the base of respect and that responsibility that then you have with the rest of the community, because you know that for that person that thing is really important, so you are going to take care of that too. And that's like it's a community building process, which is super beautiful, because that we are not alone in the world.
Yes. I think this is a very spread out kind of thinking, and that we just kind of rely or wait for some higher authority to solve our problems and to deal with things, no? And the more I think that we consider our society is advanced, that means pretty much just delegating more and more decisions to a higher authority to take care of our safety, for our health, for our basic everything, really, for all the different things. And the more that we do this, while I agree that it's a welfare system of a state, it's a positive thing to have, it also means that we become isolated within our society, because we don't have any responsibility, any input into the running of our community or anything to say. We just wait for someone else that supposedly will have the information and the resources and everything to make the right decisions and make things happen. And we just complain in the bar or with some friends in a corner, but never actually do anything. And this is very different. This is actually caring about the things that are happening. I see this here, for instance, represented in the place that we live. Because it's run as a community, it has kind of pre-Hispanic rules, because we're in Mexico, and they continue running as they were before the colonialists came here. And then, for instance, in a neighborhood nearby, they decided that at 11 p.m. there wouldn't be more noise. And there's lots of bars and restaurants and people with live music, which is amazing to enjoy. But they decided, no, at 11 p.m. that's the time, and that's it. They didn't have to wait for a law to come from the state government or something. They just decided that as a community, and they're enforcing it because they go to each of the restaurants and tell them every night, no, at 11 p.m. you have to stop the music because we have families, our children go to school tomorrow. And this is way more empowering than just waiting for someone at some point to change some law at some level in the country and finally affect you.
Yeah, it's also taking care of that community. And
feeling responsible for it. Yeah.
Is the individualistic view versus the interdependence and community life. It feels every time you get more and more isolated and there is less connection with the community that is around you. So that lets you powerless because there is not much that you can do alone.